Hey guys, and welcome to my video. Ryan's back, and I've brought a little guest, my cat Ghost. He's one of three. He's actually about to be a father soon, so if anybody needs an emotional support kitten, and I'm about to have a whole litter of them. Isn't that right? You're going to be a dad soon too. And that's kind of relevant to today's video, because today, now this video is geared towards the men, but ladies, stick around. If you find it enlightening, groovy. Glad to help. What do you see? You go get it? You can go get it. So, today, I'm here to talk to you guys about that manly temper of ours. What makes us tick. So, I'm one of a bunch of guys who, when I was growing up, I grew up in a house that was a male-run house. Out of myself and my two siblings, it was two boys and one girl, and I'm the middle child. And then my father was the one who went to work while my mom was home taking care of us. And then when we were at the age to go to school, she went back into the workforce and went to college and did all that stuff. And she's doing really well for herself, and she did great. But he always kind of had like that head start on her, because he didn't have to really, he really wasn't home with us like at all. But we'll get to that. So that male temper, where do we get it from? Well, I have a couple of schools of thought on this, and I really believe that it's somewhere between nature and nurture, but there's a bit of both at play. I actually think that there are two different male tempers, and this is how we're going to really figure out which one's which and what you need to do about it. So the first one I'm going to go through, I'm speaking from life experience. There are a lot of guys out there who have abusive dads, and a lot of guys out there who mistake their dads for abusive for having, pushed them really hard. And here's the difference between an abusive dad and a dad who's just pushing you really hard. The abusive dad is going to make you feel like a failure if you're not him, for starters. If you're different from him, you're doing something wrong. To the abusive dad, the world revolves more around him than it does around you. You will be limited by his reputation and his achievements and his insecurities, etc., etc., etc. He will basically strip you of your identity to the best of his ability and try to reshape you into him. For the dad who's just playing hard on you, and there's plenty of those too, let's not discredit our dads. For the dad who's just playing hard on you, he still wants you to be yourself, but what he's aspiring for is your success and future. He's not worried about himself. He's the dad who gives everything, and I mean down to his identity, so his son can move forward and achieve. And then there are just, downright cool, chillax dads that let you make your own mistakes, and they're there when you need them. And then we get to just flat out absent fathers altogether. So, out of the different types of dads there are, regardless of which kind of dad you have, that is, as a man, your biggest influence for the type of man you are going to become in the future. So in order to get down to the roots of some of your problems, some of the ones you really don't understand, sometimes it helps to look back at your family tree a little and see how the men in your family took certain things, especially when it is a gender-specific issue, because those tend to be slightly more biological, and yet nurture is as much a part of this as nature. And I'm about to get into that right now. So for men out there who have abusive or aggressive fathers, I myself, my father was always like really mentally and psychologically abusive towards us. And then was always just like, he was never home. He does a lot of drinking. He doesn't really lose his temper, but he's never really nice to begin with. So it's kind of, and everything I have ever done, now I'm a very artistic person and he's a total jock. Everything I've ever done has been like an insult to him because it was different from him. Now, On some weird, rare scopes, he has been very impressed with my artwork, but the only time he's ever really been immersed in my artwork was to help design a business logo, excuse me, for him. And I'm one of those people who things aren't all about, money, it's about happiness, blah 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 blah. He's just a very narcissistic person who's just all about his own wealth and reputation. So we're very different people, and honestly, he's embarrassed by anything that deviates from him looking like he has all control over everything in the world. So a lot of my temper is a lot of I've lost control of a situation. Now my default is angry. And for everyone, it's a little bit different. And I want to make this abundantly clear. This is not an excuse to blame your father for the way you act. My decisions are mine alone. Nobody forces me to make the decisions I make but me. Nobody's forcing you. Nobody forced your father. And also, I want everyone to consider while they're listening to this that our parents grew up in a different time from us and were raised by their parents who grew up in a different time from them and so on. So you have to consider the way they were raised as well. We only know what we know. If your father used to whoop you for everything and you look back and find his father used to whoop him for everything, that's probably why he did it to you. See what I mean? So if you're going to look back at your family tree, you still need to keep an open mind to who your parents are, who they were raised by, the time they were raised in, and so on and so forth. Because as I'm telling you, your temper isn't entirely your fault, and you can manage this and you can fix this. I'd like you to understand the same for the other men in your family and just other men in general. And also, I also want to point out just really briefly that the reason that I'm gearing this towards men isn't because I'm trying to say like women don't have tempers or that there's any sort of like gender-based inequality going on here. I'm not a woman. I can't speak for your experience. I'm not a clinical professional in psychology or mental health in any way. I'm just a normal cisgender male. So I know what I know, right? We all just know what we know. So when you look back at the roots of your problems, if you're looking back through your family tree and understand, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. If, like, for my sake, I'm a bit of a control freak and I'm working on that. And you can ask my kids, some of the things that they've been yelled at for don't actually make any sense. And I've had to take the time to apologize to them and explain to them, I don't know why I said that to you. I really genuinely don't have a reason for being upset with you doing this thing I don't understand. It's harmless and I see that. So, it takes some serious work to make those character changes in ourselves. But we can understand the roots of our issues. Now, if that's the case, then you understand that your temper is learned behavior, right? If your temper is a reflection of the temperament that was shown to you when you were being raised by the men in your life, you already know that's learned behavior and you can correct that by learning more. Anything you've learned in life, you can redesign to suit yourself and take weaknesses and turn them into strengths. And the key to doing so is learn more. Just never stop learning. No matter how old you are or young you are, information is available to us all. You just need to be willing to take it in. So, however, that's if it's learned behavior, we just learn more. And when we're losing our temper and we're seeing red and we don't have the control we need, do everything we can to recognize that we feel that way conscientiously and make the next decision educational. No matter what it is, make it educational. Make that the focal point of it. Make it educational. Because if you're seeing red and you just think to yourself, I need my next move to be educational, that's going to make you think, well, what's educational? That's going to start to bring you down a little bit. You're going to recenter yourself. just think when you're seeing red, I better do something educational. I better do something educational right now or I'm going to lose it. It's educational. Well, not going to prison would be really educational. What else is educational? Now you're also not listening to that person that's bugging the shit out of you, right? So it's okay to get angry. It's not okay to lash out and release that anger. It's okay to release that anger in healthy ways. That's why we have punching bags. But other people don't ever deserve to be a punching bag. Verbally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, in any way. There's no need for it. There's no need. We would be a perfect society if we all just treated each other with the same actual love and respect we would hope to be treated with in return. And the temperament we would hope someone would show to us. It's not always easy. That's why we work on ourselves. Someday we'll get there. Just getting a little better every day is the way to go. So now, if you didn't have an abusive father or an abusive male figure in your life or somebody degrading your masculinity as you were growing up, and you still have that serious temper and you feel like you have a very hard time controlling it, that is unfortunately a much deeper and harder thing to understand, because at some point, somewhere, our anger is generally tied into our self-esteem and our motivations and things like that. That one, honestly, I recommend at that point getting clinical help, like a professional. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go check yourself into the loony bin, and it's okay if you feel that you are that far along that you do. If you feel like you're at risk of hurting another person or even yourself in a fit of rage, you should get help. Professional help at any degree you feel necessary. But you need to rationally understand you are not a bad person for your anger, no matter which side of the line you are on. Taking the steps to control your anger may prove difficult, but you are not a bad person for needing to do so. You're a better person for knowing you need to do so and doing so. Okay? So if it's pure nature and no nurture, and it is I don't want to say symptom because it makes you sound like sick people. And you're not sick people. I'm not a sick person. People with psychological disorders aren't sick people. They're just different people. Get the clinical help, reorganize, but also recognize your needs and even make a list of them that you can keep on your person, so you can just, when you're getting angry, you just pull it out and just start reading your needs. Just read them. Read them out loud. Scream them if you have to. But don't take your anger out on another person, because you're also hurting yourself, not just them. And there is hope for you no matter where your anger comes from. So I really hope that this video reached somebody who needed it. I really hope that this video inspires anyone who's struggling out there to control their anger sometimes, people who feel like they're in stuck situations or have just taken it their whole lives from others and don't know how else to act. There is always a way to get through it. Just don't stop learning and don't stop trying. Thanks for listening.